Good evening. We'd like to welcome you to the Elmore County Commission work session dated Monday, September 24th, 2018. I'll call this meeting to order. We will begin with a public hearing. This is public hearing 050, retail beer off-premises only, and a 070, retail table wine off-premises only, liquor license transfer application from Nails LLC to GID Capital LLC for Nails, 8394 Kalijah Road, Eclectic, Alabama 36024. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the transfer of this liquor license? Okay, thank you. This public hearing was posted at our previous meeting, and it's my understanding, Commissioner Daughtry, this is in your district, correct?
It is. Mr. Chairman, it's just a simple transfer. The business was recently sold, and it's a simple transfer from one owner to the other. That is an established business, never been any issues there whatsoever, and I reside about a mile from it. It's a contributing business to the area.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from any commissioners regarding this? All right. Before we proceed to our regular business, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of Mayor Johnny Hammock from Tallahassee. We appreciate you being here. We'll proceed now with our regular business, a review of the minutes of the September 10, 2018 Commission meeting. And any comments or remarks? All right, we'll proceed then to review the memorandum of warrants for the period of September 5, 2018 through September 18, 2018. Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for the period stated, the memorandum of warrants was $1,374,378.41.
Thank you. Any comments or questions there? All right, we'll proceed then to our old business. Discuss board appointment to the Ridge Improvement District due 10/22/2018. Listed candidate is Mr. Thomas T. Lamberth. Any comments or remarks there? This is an appointment that is due in 2 meetings from now, approximately 1 month away. Okay, we will proceed then. We have a guest with us today, Mr. Kevin Schubert, representing Paradise Point Homeowners Association. I'd like to invite you to come up here to the podium. Just make sure that blue light's on. And this is in regards to the proposed plat of Tallahassee Cove.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The blue light is on. Thank you, Commissioner Stubbs and Commissioner Daughtry for giving us this opportunity. And I also want to thank the Elmore County Probate Office because they worked with us to find just a little error in the thing, and they were very, very gracious in helping us to get this resolved and giving us an opportunity as Paradise Point Homeowners Association to speak before this committee, and we greatly appreciate that. We did have our meeting, and we just wanted to express some of our concerns for this property. And first and foremost, I think the biggest concern is just the number of units. It potentially can be around 54, and we just have just a little nice, quiet neighborhood, and that's our biggest concern, is just keeping it that way. Mr. Daughtry and the road commission guys, you actually met us out there. We went over the concerns with the road, and that's not a big issue to us, and it's our understanding that Elmore County will maintain those roads. There was some scuttlebutt, if you will, that we as the homeowners there were going to have to maintain the road, and I think you addressed that properly, so that's out of the way. So again, our biggest concern is just the number of people there, the amount of traffic on the road that this will generate, as well as the traffic in the water. And I understand that it's not any really concern of your guys that you can do, but so that's really just our concerns, that we just wanted to make sure that we want to try to preserve the tranquility of it. The lake is a beautiful place. It's a wonderful neighborhood there, and it's quiet, and we were just hoping that we can get you guys on board to go with us and say, okay, let's cut this back from 54 to 24. We're just asking. So outside of that, again, we appreciate all that the guys in the mapping department did for us to help and get all this resolved, and we certainly appreciate Mac for you taking this by the horns and giving us this opportunity. And Thank you,
Mhm.
Chairman Stubbs.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Are there any comments or questions from any commissioners regarding this matter?
I just want to say that, I appreciate Mr. Schubert being here, and I fully understand your concerns, that property that the power company is about to develop has been in a trust for as long as I could remember, and I've been there 45 years, and people get used to seeing undeveloped property, but I know you understand that we have to comply. We can't pick and choose when it comes to approving plats and so forth for the developers, but we do appreciate your being here, and we appreciate your concern, and we understand fully. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
I have a comment, Chairman. Mr. Schubert, I echo what Commissioner Daughtry said. We appreciate you being here and appreciate your concern for our lake. It is a vital part of our county, and we appreciate you being here out of concern for that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bauer, has Alabama Power being the developer of this subdivision, have they met all the minimum requirements within the subdivision regulations in order for this to be considered for approval?
Yes, sir, they have.
Okay, thank you. I have no further, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll proceed now with a continuation of this particular topic regarding the Tallahassee Cove proposed plat and any discussion regarding that. I think we are aware that this is a process that began many weeks ago. There was, as Mr. Schubert indicated, there was information that was not filed with the courthouse many years ago with the transfer of property, and in order to comply, we have reissued those notices with regards to Alabama Power's desire to develop that property, and our requirement is to notify those who are in adjoining properties. We've reissued that notice, and we appreciate you being here today to represent the Homeowners Association, and we appreciate everyone involved there. We received many comments and emails, other forms of communication from many out there who live there, so thank you very much. Any additional discussion regarding that? We'll proceed now with our new business. We'd like to invite Ms. Delane Goggins from Juvenile Probation to come up to the podium. This is her annual visit to the County Commission meeting.
Good afternoon. I enjoy my annual visit to see y'all. These contracts are the same that I've been bringing up here for the past several years. The first one is between the county and the Department of Youth Services, and it will provide one detention space for the Montgomery County Juvenile Detention Facility for Elmore County. The second contract on there is between the Commission and Montgomery County Commission. That's for 2 additional bed spaces. The first one would be $25,000 annually. The second one is $20,000 annually. And that will provide in total 3 bed spaces for Elmore County with Montgomery County Juvenile Detention. And then the last, the diversion grant, we've had that program for 7 or 8 years now. It is no cost to the county. It's a grant that we were awarded from the Department of Youth Services to put a diversion program in place to attempt to keep at-risk youth out of incarceration with the Department of Youth Services.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Just out of curiosity, how many years have you been working with the Juvenile Probation Office?
24 years.
24 years.
All right. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Do the beds generally stay full?
They do, generally.
Yeah, I thought they would with just 3.
They do.
Thank you.
Ms. Goggins, I want to say I appreciate what you do as well. I couldn't do your job, but I really appreciate someone that can work with you to try to keep them headed in the right direction. I was looking on page 1 of the Department of Youth Services agreement. It says where there's a new anger management component added for low to medium risk youth. And will that be added to the part of the in-home services they receive, or is that going to be a standalone component that will need a extra facility to?
Yeah, that's part of the program that the most at-risk youth go through, but we've subdivided it out so that some of our lower to medium risk youth that just need an anger management class, can take just the class. They don't receive the other services, but they do attend that class. There's no other place in Elmore County for them to receive an anger management class. So we found that very helpful through the program.
Okay, so all your needs are within your request then for that
Yes,
as well? Okay,
yes.
that was my point, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Goggins, when, after the number of beds has been allotted, if there's fall fields, what y'all do then with?
We try to stay very aware of the number, or we are very aware of the number of children we have in detention.
Mm-hmm.
We try our best not to exceed that number at all possible. If we do have to go over 3 beds, if we have to ask for an additional bed space, it is $85 a day for that child.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to echo what the other commissioners have said. I'm not dating your age whatsoever, but I've had the privilege of knowing and working with you in the law enforcement arena for all those 24 years, and seeing firsthand what you have done for the juvenile program in Elmore County. I just want to say that you've had an opportunity to provide guidance to an untold number of youth and to change lives, and the taxpayers and the residents of Elmore County have been very blessed to have you in that role.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I had the privilege of teaching 3 of your children at Wetumpka High School, and you not only take care of some of our troubled youth, but you also did a great job of raising your children. So thank you very much. All right, we'll proceed then with an invitation to Mr. Owen Tilley from Boy Scout Troop 13 to the podium to present an Eagle Scout project proposal.
Good evening. My name is Owen Tilley. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a Life Scout in Boy Scout Troop 13. We meet just across the bridge in the Presbyterian Church. I want to present before you my Eagle Scout project plan, which is to make a World War I monument to dedicate all the soldiers and men who served in our country and died fighting for our country. On November 11th, 1918, the shelling ended and silence was heard for the first time across the battlefields in France and Belgium as World War I came to an end. Many Elmore County soldiers were also silent, as they were already lying in graves across France and in cemeteries near their communities across our country. On November 11th, 2018, we will also celebrate the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. As part of that celebration, I would like to complete my requirement for Eagle Scout by commissioning a monument dedicated to those who served and honor the memories of those who died in what became known as the Great War, or the War to End All Wars. Thanks to the extensive research efforts of Linda Blankenship from the Elmore County Probate Office, Nancy Dupree from the Alabama Archives, and my dad, Ken Tilley, who is a military historian, I've collected the names of the 43 Elmore County residents who died during that conflict. Many hours of research was conducted and documentation done, found to have a complete list of those who were killed in action, died from wounds, died from sickness, had an accidental death, or were missing during World War I. They came from all corners of our county, and during this centennial year, I feel it is appropriate to recognize them. I have worked with Farmer Memorial on monument design that will cost around $1,700 and measure 2 feet 8 inches wide, 4 inches thick, and 5 feet 2 inches tall. And I will believe it will enhance the other monuments and memorials already on the courthouse grounds and will be a lasting memorial to those who made the ultimate sacrifice during World War I. I have enclosed a list of all the names of those who died from our county, and I'm sure you'll recognize some of the last names, as there are many descendants across our county today who are related to them. Other names of those who died are not recognizable and have been forgotten through the years. I feel it is time to remember and honor all of them, and ask that you consider my Eagle Scout project as a worthy project to do just that. A drawing of the proposed monument is enclosed, and I've already been working with Mr. Byer and Mr. Woodall before this meeting. I would ask that you approve my placing the World War I monument in an appropriate place on the courthouse grounds. If you have any questions about this project, I will gladly answer them, any that you may have. Thank you for listening and for all that you do for our great county.
All right. Thank you, Owen. We really appreciate that very professional presentation, and we appreciate your preparedness in coming here tonight to share some of your experiences in your research and preparation for this project. I'm curious, in comprising this list of 43 Elmore County residents who died in action, have you had any contact with or communication with any of their descendants?
Not at this time, but my dad, being a military historian, he cares a great deal about the history of this county, and through his contacts in the military, as well as his affiliation with the Alabama Archives, was able to look into the Alabama Archives Gold Star files, which contains a list of all the men and women, mostly men, who died during World War I, and we were able to compile all these names into a list, which includes the day they were born, the day they died, how they died, what infantry they were in. We were able to compile a pretty detailed list that we think is as close to accurate as possible.
Great. Well, I commend you for that. Any comments or questions from any fellow commissioners?
The only thing you're asking us to do is provide a place for the monument, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say, as a veteran, my heart just overflows that you've chosen this as your project, and I can't imagine the joy that those families are going to feel when they learn about this and so forth. And you're to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you. I just feel that World War I is kind of overshadowed by World War II as as great a conflict as it was, and I feel a lot of veterans who died serving our country during World War I remain overlooked, and I feel like it is past time to commemorate them.
Oh, and I believe we can all see as you approach the courthouse, the entrance areas over time evolved to become a common place for such memorials to be placed. So I think your project is completely consistent with the use of our entrance area, and congratulations on all your awards and your medals you've received through your hard work as being a Boy Scout, and I hope you great success on this project.
Thank you very much.
Any additional comments? Right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we will proceed now with discussion of the fiscal year 2019 budget. As was shared at our previous meeting, the County Commission, in accordance with our duties and responsibilities for the proposal of a budget for the 2019 year, we've worked diligently with department heads and other elected officials in the county to work with them on identifying their needs and identifying the direction that they are moving, and trying to assist them in helping them accomplish their goals. As was shared at our previous meeting, and I'll share again, we've worked for several months on this budget. Basically, when we pass a budget in the previous year, we start working on the next budget, and we do that by keeping good records and recognizing what we're doing well and where we need to improve. We've worked closely with, as I mentioned, the other elected officials and department heads to identify some of their specific needs, and we've also taken on the responsibility as a county commission. Many of you may be aware that we initiated a salary and compensation review at our previous budget meetings in late 2017, And over the last 12 months, we've worked on that with some assignments given to several of our staff members to gather information from neighboring counties and really counties throughout the state. Identified 9 counties that we would compare and contrast our salaries and compensation structure with theirs to try and evaluate what our employees are doing and what similar job titles and job descriptions are doing in other counties, and to make sure that we are in line and doing the things that we need to do to create a great work environment for our employees. Some things that were alarming that led to this were over a 2-year period from May 2016 to May 2018, we determined that we experienced a 38% workforce turnover in the county. So you can take that into consideration with where you might work, and consider that over 1/3 of your staff turns over in a 2-year period. We tried to identify what was causing that, and there we acknowledge that there are many reasons that people leave jobs. They may retire, they may move, there may be health issues. There are some reasons, but we also identified that there were some other reasons that people were leaving in some of our exit interviews and some of the other information that we gathered. And we learned that the cost of replacing someone in our county is about approximately 20% of their salary. So if someone makes $50,000, it costs us $10,000 to replace that person. And when you consider that 38% of your staff is turning over, you can see how that number can get really high really fast. So we worked diligently to try to find if there were areas that we were not doing something right, we wanted to address it. And so that's one of the things that we've focused on in this budget year, was to evaluate the compensation structure of not just one department, not just one area, but across the entire county. And the input of the department heads and other elected officials, sheriff, probate judge, revenue commissioner, they all were actively engaged in this process by providing us with their perspective on their staff and the needs of their staff with respect to compensation. So I'm proud of the work that was done and the time that was spent in doing this, and I feel as though we are now in a position where we have done what's right by the employees. We've got data to back it up, and now we can look to the future in ways that we might be able to further enhance the work environment for our employees. There are many other areas, obviously, that we are responsible for with regards to the budget. We have lots of responsibilities with roads and bridges and infrastructure throughout the county, and that is one area that we continue to do our best with the funds that we have available to make sure that we are fixing the roads and the bridges that need to be fixed. And believe me, we've got a list of things that we would love to fix as soon as we have the funds to do it. And hopefully this legislative session in 2019 our state leaders will recognize some of the needs that we have on a local, county and city level, and provide us with the funds that we need to further improve the roads and bridges in our county. I'm going to open up to any other discussion regarding our budget with any of my fellow commissioners. Again, as I mentioned before we do that, we've all, I believe this is probably the 4th or 5th draft that we've received over the last 2 months. This is something that we've each spent a lot of time evaluating and working on to put forth the best budget that we can for this year.
The one thing I'd like to say, Mr. Chairman, I was not involved in that process, but that's not a negative. But I appreciate what each and every one that was involved did, and we're getting back where we need to be, because it's been many years since we've had an evaluation program that was done the way it should be done. And I appreciate what we're doing to solve that problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Holt. Any other comments or questions?
Chairman, just to add on a few other highlights about the budget, we are able to continue funding the workman's comp insurance for our volunteer fire departments, and we're also able this year to fund the majority of their reporting, majority of the expenses for their software they use, so they're compliant with the reporting requirements that they send information to on runs and training to different agencies. So I was encouraged to see we're able to continue to fund that. We're also able to continue to fund our economic development effort in the county. And as Commissioner Stubbs mentioned, this commission last April made a commitment and discussed our intentions to review the personnel policies, the job classifications, and the pay scale that we use here in Elmore County, and that has been done. There were 85 job classifications that have either been reviewed, rewritten, or either created during this process. Commissioner Reeves and Chairman Stubbs worked with Mr. Byer and county staff to do this, along with our department heads, and I appreciate their effort for what they have done. The employee pay scale has been revised based on our market, based on the counties that are most like us in the state, using data from those counties that are closest to us. And we feel like we are in range with those neighboring counties and the ones that look most like Elmore County. But one thing that I am very glad that we did, and that I think we're going to see long-term positive effects of, is we did this with our department heads and our county-wide elected officials. The county commission just didn't take a document and give it to our legal counsel and some commission staff and say make some changes, and then we're going to give it to our everyone that has to enforce this. This took place over a course of 30-plus meetings over the course of over a year. So we're really glad that we did this and the effort, and we had input by those people that are going to be tasked with enforcing this. Our personnel policies are going to be the next document that we'll be considering at a future meeting. They're currently being reviewed by commission staff, and then will ultimately be reviewed by our insurance company, legal counsel, and that'll be something that will be coming. The pay scale and the changes, the job classifications, that is something that we're considering now. So again, I appreciate everyone's effort that made this possible. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Go ahead.
I was just wanting to say, you heard the overview of our budget process. You heard about how we are having a great turnover in people, employees, and we looked at the reason why. And one of the things that fueled the fire is to make sure that we took care of our employees, because they are our very valuable access. So what fueled that was one of the departments just took on their own just to promote some people, giving them a raise out of, they gave it to us to approve. But I looked at it and say, well, if we're going to do it this way, we need to look at every department we have and study this. And along with Mr. Biden and other help, they looked around the state, and we found people that did compatible jobs to the one that we had, and we worked on it. But a lot of our employees thought, well, maybe this is going to fall on deaf ear. You know, y'all ain't do nothing. But I think that was the fuel that started the fire burning real high. And we got out there and we really worked together and to get our employees where they need to be. And we still working on it, because now we got another system that we're trying to get in place, and that's evaluation process. When you just sit down and you talk with your employer, you tell them what they're doing and what they could do better, and then we pay them for the work that they do. You know, you just ain't gonna sit around and twiddle your fingers and get paid for doing nothing, because you're working for the citizen of this county, and we expect for you to do a day's work for a day's pay. And so we're still working on that portion, and I'm glad that we got to the point where we evaluated everybody and got the job, the pay scale and the job description to match. And now I think that when we was a training ground, because the sheriff just talked to me and said, you know, time I train my peoples here, and they just go to Montgomery, go to Pawtucket County, because they paid more. And we had become a training ground for other counties, so we had to really looking at that too. So I think this is going to solve a lot of that problem, and I'm very pleased with the way the stuff we did for our employees. And other things we looked at, we discussed stuff in the budget like economic development and this and that. But when we put money in economic development, we want something to show. That means we want to bring jobs in for our people, and we want to keep our high school graduates and college graduates here in Elmore County. So how can you do that? You bring in jobs. And so we expect economic development to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. So this is a stand of this commission. I mean, we want everybody to want $1 worth of pay for $1 worth of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each of us has, in addition to serving our individual districts and so forth, and actually serving all of the county, we have areas of responsibility which includes different departments within the county government, to include economic development, the highway department, law enforcement, and so forth. And mine happens to be law enforcement. So I had the opportunity to participate in the budget process, several meetings with Sheriff Franklin, Mr. Byron, so forth, and we didn't just sit down and go over, you know, the sheriff just didn't submit a budget and say, okay, can y'all do this? If not, you know, what can we do? We went over every line item in the budget, and I'm pleased to report that the sheriff said recently, in his 28 years of being sheriff, this is one of the smoothest budget processes that he has been involved with, and I appreciate Mr. Byer, Neil, everyone that was involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate my fellow commissioners' comments, and there's one other thing I'd like to mention. I think that most of you would find this very interesting, and it's in regards to revenues. We've talked a lot about expenses or things that we spend money on, but one bit of information you may have seen recently, the U.S. Supreme Court passed they made a ruling regarding internet sales tax. That came out within the last probably 8 weeks or so. I'd like you to be aware that the state of Alabama was far ahead of the Supreme Court's ruling. Approximately 3 years ago, the legislators passed a simplified seller's use tax. Some of you may have seen that phrase. You might not have been familiar with what it meant, but simplified seller's use tax was a way in which internet vendors could voluntarily collect a sales tax when they sell something in Alabama. And that rate is 8%, which is lower than some municipalities in some areas, but it was something that they could voluntarily participate in. And what it gave them, the reason they did it, was it didn't matter if you lived in Holtville or Madison County or Mobile, it was just 8% in the state of Alabama. If you live in Elmore County right now, you have different sales tax, 3 or 4 in the county. So if you are someone like Amazon, you don't want to fool with sales tax in 50 states, in thousands of municipalities, and try to figure that out by zip code. So the 8% was a great incentive to them because it gave them a flat rate. They could just pay that or collect the 8%, remit it to the Alabama Department of Revenue, and they could forget about it. So they've been doing that for the last couple of years, and they voluntarily participated in it. The first year there were 30 or 40, and then there were 70 or 80. But I just want to share a couple numbers with you. 3 years ago, or I guess 3 fiscal years ago, was the very first time we collected anything in Elmore County. And it was a nominal amount. It was under $10,000. It was only, I think it was 1 quarter, the 4th quarter of 1 year. Fast forward to the next year, which was not the current year we're in, but the year before, and the number was up closer to $200,000. That was Elmore County's part of that 8% that was remitted by these vendors. This year, we're still waiting on the fourth quarter of this year to come in. We receive the monies quarterly, but we anticipate being over $400,000 in this year if the numbers for each quarter stay about the same. So that gives you some indication. The state of Alabama was far ahead of the Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court ruling now has put all of those internet sales companies on notice that they've got to find a way to collect that sales tax. We anticipate us continuing to collect the 8%, the simplified seller's use tax. But I think that is something for each of you to know, that our legislators are working diligently to come up with ways. Many of you may be, brick and mortar store owners. I am, and it can be frustrating when online sales doesn't collect sales tax and you do. And there's a lot of talk about that, and this is a way in which we're able to add to our revenue from that simplified seller's use tax. So I just wanted to highlight that and share that with you. If there's no further discussion about our budget, I think we'll proceed. Mr. Byer, do you have any comments?
The only comment I'd make is just to thank Neil for all his work during this process. This is both of our first time collectively putting together the entire budget, and I appreciate all his work and the work that Ms. Cooper did on the pay plan. So I think y'all covered everything else in terms of the process of what we're doing and the timeline in the next several weeks to several months on the personnel policy and the appraisal policy. So
great. Thank you very much. All right, we'll proceed now. Consider Johnson Controls Planned Service Agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a 3-year maintenance agreement that we currently have in place with Johnson Controls to handle the judicial, the administrative part of the jail and the Sheriff's Department and the EOC, and basically it's preventative maintenance on our HVAC system. So the systems that we spent a large amount of money for years ago, this keeps them up to date. We would have already submitted this to you, but we had some discussions with the auditors, and they have cleared all of this. This and amounts to about $16,520 to start in year one, and then it progressively goes up with CPI and things like that. But this is one of those public works type projects that y'all have heard at the ACCA meetings and all that we've had back and forth about competitive bid or public works. So we want to make sure we had all those hurdles cleared and straightened up. So
thank you. All right, we'll proceed to discuss fiscal year 2018 EMPG Cooperative Grant Agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this and the next item on the agenda are both your routine EMPG grants for our EMA department and the CLEM certification. And I believe my understanding is this is maybe even a little earlier than normal. They usually are hitting right at the end of the fiscal year, maybe into the first part of the next year when we get our certification request and the funds. So this is roughly, if my math was right, I think it's roughly about $45,000 total in the two grants. I may have that backwards. It may be $52,000, but it's those standard grants that we look for every year based on having that CLEM certified program.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, this next item, fiscal year 2018 additional federal EMPG funding for certified local emergency manager certification, is part of that same cooperative grant agreement.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed now with our consent docket. We have the travel memorandum. Any discussion there? All right, we'll proceed. Approve family medical leave request for Cindy Nelson from 9/5/18 through 9/5/19. We'll proceed now with personnel notifications. Notification of hire of Keith Barnett, EMA Director, replace Kay Jones, effective 10/1/18. Notification of Stephen Smith, Dispatcher, advancing from Tier 1 to Tier 2 Dispatcher, effective 9/13/18. Notification of April Ballard, Dispatcher, advancing from Tier 1 to Tier 2 Dispatcher, effective 9/13/18. We'll proceed now with the reports of the Commission. Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just for the record, that is $53,000 between those two grants. Refresh my memory. You have two items in front of you. One is an email that was sent out today with a cover letter talking about County Government Day and our next county spring clean event, which will be our second annual spring clean. This is an item that we did in concert with PALS, and then we turned around and we recognized the school, the high school that collected the most litter on our cleanup day. So we wanted to get those dates out ahead of time to the Board of Education. Ms. Kim has done an excellent job with that, and we will also be turning our focus now to on the spring clean, getting out to our community groups. We had a number of them last year, including some Boy Scouts and YMCA that participated, so we'll be working on that and building up to our second annual event there. The other item that you have in front of you kind of supplements some of the budget information that you saw earlier, but this is a result of a presentation that I was asked to do at the ACCA meeting about a month ago when we were talking about road and bridge needs and breakdowns. And you've seen some of this data in the past, but I wanted to give you a little refresher on that in terms of how our road and bridge resources break down, and in addition, our total number of grants that we have been able to secure over the last 15 years or so. And one comment adding to that with the budget is that is one thing that we have seen and we strive to do in our budget is try to leverage as many federal and state dollars as we can, and we continue to do that. You should see that in your budget summary that I gave to you as well. Not only road and bridge projects, but there's a number of other grants that we're able to leverage and be able to increase our buying power. So the only other thing I was going to mention I did not put in the summary was our increased emphasis on grants this coming year and how we're going to focus on that. And we have already announced to the staff, but we'll be announcing to the rest of the departments that Ms. Kim is going to take that duty on and run with that here in the near future. And we hope that that's going to enhance our ability to secure and leverage our funds and bring more money back to the citizens of the county. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have in the way of a report. Do y'all have any questions or comments for me?
Thank you. All right, we'll have reports from the Commission. Commissioner Holt.
It's good to see you folks tonight. We got a little bit more than we normally have, and that's a good thing. So, appreciate you being here. And I'd like to say to Delane and to Tay, we appreciate what y'all do as far as working with the juveniles and with the Sunshine Center. Is all important. It's very important. And I appreciate you doing your presentation on World War I. That's great. So, thank you all for being here, and we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Daughtry.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman, at this time.
Commissioner Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I again just want to say thank you to you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reeves, Mr. Byer, our department heads, and our countywide elected officials for all the time they spent in reviewing these documents that are so vital to the foundation and operational foundation of our county. It's very encouraging to see that we made a commitment to doing this over a year ago, and we're almost finished with that process. So again, I'll say thank you for that. Just two things specific to Elmore County, specifically on the west side of our county. The Alabama Wildlife Federation is having their Go Fish Day this Saturday. They'll be taking place in their stock ponds. You can contact the Alabama Wildlife Federation for more information on that. And remember, Chamber of Commerce will be having a four-man scramble on Thursday. So if you'd like to participate in that, please contact the Chamber. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Reeves.
I just want to thank all our employees for what they do, and I want to thank the citizens for coming out to see your county commission at work. That's all.
Thank you. I echo my fellow commissioners' remarks regarding the employees in our county and the great things that they do, and many things that they do that go unseen, but they're not unnoticed, and we appreciate their efforts. I also appreciate my fellow commissioners' contributions to all of the things that we've tried to to do today with regards to the budget, and we will do as we move forward with our policies and procedures manual and other efforts that we're making to try to make Elmore County the best that it can be. We all know that we live in a great place. We're grateful for the place that we live, and we have opportunities to improve that and to enhance it, and it takes active citizens like each of you who are here today to participate in your local government, and it takes a cohesive and the level of camaraderie that we have as commissioners to try to work together towards a common goal. I'd also like to just mention in my district that Wetumpka High School is #1 in the state in football, and we play Prattville this Friday at Prattville, and then the following week is Stanhope, right? So maybe Commissioner Mercer and I and Commissioner Reeves, we can have a little friendly wager on that Stanhope Wetumpka game. So anyway, again, we appreciate all of you being here, and we appreciate the efforts of all of our staff. We'll proceed now. Kim, can you provide us with the important calendar dates?
Monday, October 8th, the courthouse will be closed in observance of Columbus Day, which means our meeting will be on Tuesday, October 9th at 5 o'clock with the work session and the business meeting following. Saturday, October 13th is the next countywide cleanup from 9 to 1, noting the rotating location is the Tusada Post Office, and Monday, October 22nd at 5 o'clock will be our second commission meeting for October.
Thank you. We'll reconvene shortly. We'll begin with an invocation offered by Richie Byer, following which Commissioner Holt will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Join me in prayer. Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to gather today to do the business of the citizens of this county, Lord. And I just thank you for our leaders, and I just pray that you give them the wisdom and the courage to do your will and do what's best for the citizens of this county. I just thank you for those who serve us and in the military and put their life in harm's way to protect us and protect our freedoms. And Lord, I just thank you for all the blessings that you've given us, and just pray that you would be with us as we continue through the week. I pray all this in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Would y'all stand, please? Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Here.
Chairman Stubbs?
Here.
Commissioner Mercer?
Here.
Commissioner Reeves?
All right, we'll proceed with our regular business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the September 10, 2018 Commission meeting as presented during the work session?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of warrants for the period of September 5, 2018 through September 18, 2018?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Proceeding now with old business. Is there a motion to approve a 050 retail beer off premises only and a 070 retail table wine off premises only liquor license transfer application from Nails LLC to GID Capital LLC for Nails 8394 Kalijah Road, Eclectic, Alabama 36024.
Motion to approve.
Second. Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve proposed plat of Tallahassee Cove?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
We'll proceed now with new business. Is there a motion to approve fiscal year 19 detention contract with Department of Youth Services for 1 detention bed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
there a motion to approve fiscal year 19 long-term detention subsidy agreement with Montgomery County for 2 detention beds?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve fiscal year 19 diversion grant contract with Department of Youth Services?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve Eagle Scout project proposal for World War I monument on the courthouse grounds?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Proceeding, is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2019 budget with county pay plan as presented?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve Johnson Controls Planned Service Agreement?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve fiscal year 2018 EMPG Cooperative Grant Agreement?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve fiscal year 2018 additional federal EMPG funding for Certified Local Emergency Manager Certification Cooperative Grant Agreement?
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the consent docket as proposed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Proceeding with personnel notifications, notification of hire of Keith Barnett, EMA Director, replace Kay Jones, effective 10/1/18. Notification of Stephen Smith, Dispatcher, advancing from Tier 1 to Tier 2 Dispatcher, effective 9/13/18. Notification of April Ballard, Dispatcher, advancing from Tier 1 to Tier 2 Dispatcher, effective 9/13/18. Any additional reports to the Commission?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.